Why is formative assessment important? Why do you think formative assessment is important? Would you like to share your thoughts in the chat, please? Why is formative assessment important? Yes, it is a continuous check of how things are going. It is assessment for learning to identify gap for improvement. Thank you. I like that. It is continuous check of how things are going. So while the lesson is going on right there in the class, we check if students understand, especially with large class sizes and diverse students' abilities that are common in Nigeria. It is important to check if our students have understood the lesson to that point. Otherwise, we get to the midterm test and we realize that they didn't follow the lesson. Now, students can also learn from their mistakes if we assess the learning while the class is on. It also builds their confidence. It helps them to take risks. A lot of students are afraid of participating in class. They don't want to make any comments because they're afraid of making mistakes. They're afraid that others would laugh at them. But if we check while the lesson is on and we find out that this child or this learner is having a challenge, and we're able to address this challenge while the lesson is on at that point, it gives these students confidence and they're able to take the risk of contributing, of participating in the class, and we know that they'll do better at the end of the test. So why do we integrate it? Why should we integrate formative assessment into lesson planning? Number one is that it ensures the assessment is an integral part of the lesson, that it is part of the lesson, not something we do after the lesson. It also makes the lesson coherent. It flows coherently, and then we focus on learning outcomes. And when we integrate formative assessment into the lesson, we're able to ask very critical questions like, where are my students going? So what is my objective? What do I hope to achieve at the end of this lesson? And then we can find out where are they now. So if I get to the end of step 1 of my lesson, I should be able to find out, have my students followed me up to this point? And if they have not, how do I help them to get there? That is why formative assessment is important. That is why it is important to integrate formative assessment into lesson planning. Next slide.